Thank you very much for joining me, everyone. It is great to be back on live on YouTube after a 1 week suspension. And that's what I'd like to discuss right now. My station was not taken down from YouTube, in that all of my videos are up and remained up. And by the way, in case it's ever completely taken down, I have all of them in storage in various locations. But I was prevented from doing the live stream, which I am committed to do every Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 1 and at other select times, mainly because my guest, Michael D. Shaw, who joins me every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and who is a health columnist and he's a chemist. He's written over 1,000 columns over a long period of time on various health issues, and I think he's a responsible reporter. He had some specific criticisms of the vaccine. Now, he was not suggesting, nor am I suggesting, that people not get the vaccine. In fact, I'm scheduled to get it, and members of my family have gotten it, and everything was fine. So that's not the issue. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I will say in that context that I don't necessarily do everything the state tells me to do, nor do my family members. We select vaccines at appropriate times, but I understand the efficacy of vaccines. And yet he made some criticisms, and I'm not going to get into it now because I'm afraid the station will be banned again, other than to say that his criticisms were based upon legitimate reports in the field regarding certain elements of the vaccine. I'm not going to say more than that. Now, it is my belief that anyone who enters into any sort of medical procedure ought to do so with all the information that they can get. I believe in being well informed. I also believe, and I would contend, that I was observing community standards in the course of discussing this very well-sourced information. Now, I know something about community standards in radio. I had been a radio talk show host for many years at various small radio stations in the greater Boston area where I live. And I understand that radio is under the FCC. There are standards, legal standards that you have to maintain when you go on the air at a radio station. And they're more than just the literal standards like libel and slander. That's obvious. Those are crimes. You can't do that. You can't come up in the air and say, so-and-so is this and that, or did this and that. Those are crimes. You never do that, and I would never do it. But it goes beyond that. It is that you broadcast in a way that is applicable and appropriate to the community that you serve. And when you go to a radio station like I did, which was an old-fashioned red brick building where you have a general manager who has an office right down the hall and who's listening to you, and there's a staff of people there, and there's salespeople and administrators and board ops, it's a business. You maintain standards. You have to look people in the eye. People talk to you about your show. You have to work with people. You're part of a team. And I did. And I maintain that I understand what those standards are, and I agree with them. I generally want to do that. And I understand that maintaining such standards involves a certain level of self-censorship, which I do. But I think that YouTube decided that what I had done was not according to their community standards, which they do not specify in terms of what those are. And I would suggest that that's wrong. Now, Steve Turley, Dr. Steve Turley, Turley Talks, he's a regular guest of mine on this program. And he mentioned on his program that he had been interviewed. He's the author of many books, so he does interviews on radio. He'd been interviewed by a major radio talk show host in a major city. He didn't mention who. and that this radio talk show host told him that his station had been and his show had been banned from YouTube. Now, this is someone who broadcasts the same show. He wasn't doing a separate program, by the way. This same program fell under the rubric of FCC regulations and community standards like any other radio talk show host does. But apparently those standards weren't enough for YouTube. So to my way of thinking, that goes to the contention that YouTube is engaging in censorship beyond community standards. And that contention is only amplified by the fact that YouTube doesn't reveal the vague nature of these community standards. Now, I understand that YouTube is a private company, and I understand that they have to be answerable to advertisers who don't agree with certain opinions. So doesn't radio, by the way. But even within that context, I would suggest that censoring conservative opinion, as has been reported by so many people, including Dennis Prager, who's about as straight arrow and as legitimate as anyone you can find, it actually goes contrary to advertisers who generally, they're not political, but they're not concerned. I mean, I get the fact they don't want to have the Klan on the air. Sure, that's not community standards. I wouldn't have a Klan show or a communist show on a regular radio station either. They don't comport, but general conservative opinion. I mean, we generally would want to see a pretty wide latitude of tolerance, especially for a station that prides itself on free speech. So while I take issue with YouTube's definition of community standards, I obviously have to accept it because they are giving me this show. They are not charging me for it. I understand that. And therefore, I am coming on this program today to mention that in response to that suspension, which is now obviously over because here I am, I have established a website under my name, charlesmoscowitz.com. And on that website, I have included links to almost 30 venues that carry my program, which I do besides other times every day, Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. And those include live streams, of which there are, I think, almost 10 besides YouTube, and archived sites like Minds and Rumble, and also podcast sites, audio sites like iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, several others that are there. And I have given links to all of those so that any one of them at any time would carry the show. I also have included on that website archives of all of my past programs that go back. I mean, I've done thousands of programs, at least 1,000, and links to my books, my columns, and my blogs, plus a lot of other fun things to do. I mean, there's links to all sorts of things. I have a page dedicated to Donald Trump. I have other things that I'm interested in. And I also have put up a few products there because I wouldn't mind making a few bucks. I don't get paid for any of this, and I'm not independently wealthy. So please patronize the links, including one to Mike Lindell from MyPillow, who has been purged and censored by not only the big tech media, I think including YouTube, I'm not sure, certainly Twitter, but whose product has been dropped by the big box stores like Bed Bath & Beyond and Kohl's and others, and who offers products like pillows and bed sheets. So I have a link up to Mike Lindell's MyPillow. You can order it there. I would appreciate that. And a link to other things. So that's what the website's about. It's called charlesmoscowitz.com. I'm going to be putting a link to that here on below this quick broadcast so you could get to that. And what I would say going forward with regard to YouTube is that even though I still consider YouTube to be the sort of the flagship of my enterprise here, and again, I do it Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 1 p.m., I am probably not going to post everything on YouTube. You know, there are certain programs that I want to do that I do think are in community standard in line with that, but I wonder whether they're not appropriate for YouTube, that I'm just not going to have on YouTube. I'm not going to go live on YouTube, and I'm probably not going to post it on YouTube. And that way, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll come on and make a quick announcement about it so that you can go to the other sites. But I don't want to have to worry. I don't want to have to be thinking in the back of my mind that either I or my guest or a caller or someone else might say something that's going to get someone at YouTube's nose out of joint, whether it be through an algorithm or through a group of people who don't like me and what I'm saying, and they don't like opinions that don't genuflect their own or reflect their own. And so going forward, you're not going to see me do a YouTube Monday through Friday. You're going to see occasional posts on YouTube, probably not live, unless I'm doing something that's not at all controversial. Like today, for example, I'm going to be having a musician join me, and we're going to play guitar together. That's not going to be controversial. We're not going to talk too much. We might sing a little, but we're not going to. So that's fine for YouTube. That's going up on YouTube. But if I have Dr. E. Michael Jones, or I have someone that maybe YouTube might not like, that doesn't go on YouTube. That goes on all of my other networks. And I might come on YouTube briefly just to introduce it and direct people to other networks. But the best way to get to it is to go to charlesmoscowitz.com. That is what I'm working on right now. That is what I'm developing. And that really is the headquarters for all of my creative activities. So anyway, I just wanted to share this news. I'm grateful that I'm back on YouTube either way, and I shall forge forward in these very interesting times when we do have generally what I would call a Kulturkampf, you know, and I do think it's going to get worse, by the way. So I'm doing the best I can to prepare for that and to continue with what I'm committed to do, which is vigorous and honest, as best to my ability, exchanges of opinions and ideas of all types. That's what I believe in. So thanks for joining me, everyone. Again, charlesmoscowitz.com is the website. God bless you all and have a great day.